Hello everyone, this is Carmine. Today I'm gonna make a video about Linux distributions and why I'm never gonna make a Linux distro review. But you can count the second half of this video as a distro review if you like, but it's not really a distro review, but okay. So, you'd often see that beginners search up the best Linux distribution on Google and just oftentimes the results are horrendous. I mean, I'm gonna do it right now. Distro. So the AI thing honestly didn't give that bad of an answer. Ubuntu, Linux Mint, these are really good. But then 9 best to pick in 2025. Why is Kali on the list? Why Alma? I mean, I can understand Rocky for servers, but they often just like keep distros for the sake of keeping distros. So, it just isn't the right way to pick a distro. You don't just search on the web for the best distro. You can't do that. So instead you'd have to resort to actually trying out distributions for yourself. Now not everyone has time to do that, which is why I'm gonna speak. Now first off, one thing to note is that your distro doesn't matter that much because of things like GitHub and Flatpaks and Nix packages. You can typically get most of your apps on all distributions, and to be honest, your distro is your package manager. I mean that's all your distribution is. It's basically the package manager, the packages you can install from the actual distro's package manager. So I mean, if you can get any package on any distro, then basically most distros are the same. Now you can't get any package. It depends if they're on FlatHub and other Flatpak repos, GitHub and Nix packages and stuff like that. So that's why your distro doesn't matter, and you should probably just pick one. There's no reason to fuss about it because most mainstream Linux distros are super easy to install. There isn't much to it. Now I'm gonna talk about why the main distros you should focus on, at least as a beginner, are Debian, Fedora, and Arch. So why not stuff like OpenSUSE and NixOS? I mean, I just talked about Nix packages. What's wrong with using NixOS? OpenSUSE, Slackware. There's so many distros which are not based on Debian, Red Hat, Fedora, and like Arch. So why not those? They typically do not have much support. I know I'm saying this, and Linux doesn't have much support in general, but those distros have even less as compared to other Linux distros, and they just aren't as polished as the three main distros I talked about. And I'm just talking right now. I'm talking about the ones which aren't based on those. There are so many distros which are based on the three ones which I'm just talked about, and that just shows how influential they are. Not many people made forks of those other distributions because people thought that they weren't worth making forks of. That's just how good Debian, Fedora, and Arch are. Now, why should you just stick to Debian, Fedora, and Arch and not use those forks? Mostly just package hell and stuff. Okay, so basically especially Debian, many people just like make distributions based on Debian, Arch, and Fedora, and most of them are kind of useless. Some of them can have like genuine unique things about them, but most of them are just kind of useless. You can recreate the exact same thing in the distros I was talking about, and it's not even that hard. I mean, distros like Endeavor OS, for instance. This is basically just Arch Linux with the Calamaris install and maybe some helpful packages. I never used them, but that's what Endeavor OS is. You could just use Arch Linux. Now the goal of Endeavor OS is supposed to be like an easier to install Arch Linux, but to be fair, if you like actually like research a bit, Arch Linux isn't hard to install. You just need patience and like need to have eyes so that you can read and stuff like that. And then you have distros like Ubuntu, which was my first Linux distro, so I obviously have like a bit of a soft spot for this. Thing is, you should just use Debian. Ubuntu, it has a lot of there are more problems with the fact that Ubuntu, like canonical Ubuntu, is way more corporate than most other Linux distributions. Now, like they keep on making some controversial changes, stuff like snap flatpaks. I mean, I don't know if you'd understand some of these as beginners, but there's stuff like snap flatpaks, and now they're thinking of rewriting the GNU core utils because of Rust, which is just kind of stupid. I mean, they work and they don't even expect there to be any performance benefit. So what's the point? They could just work on like actually useful stuff, like I don't know, like making sure you can actually install Windows stuff on Linux. Like you get my point. So distros like Ubuntu just come with a lot of baggage. It's just better not to use them. Like I wouldn't really trust them. Now I'm not saying that Ubuntu is like the worst. It's not. It brought so many people over to Linux. It brought me to Linux, but now I would just rather use Debian. It's just simpler. Debian is just what it is. This is what so many Linux distros are based on. If I want something Debian based, I would just use Debian. So, yeah. Now so that's why you should only use the Oh wait, actually I didn't talk about Arch based ones. I mean, apart from Endeavor OS, you also have stuff like Manjaro. Now Manjaro claims to be an easy to install Arch Linux. I mean, I think it was the first easy to install Arch Linux. Like, at least it's older than Endeavor OS probably. This is, as far as I've heard, probably just a plain bad distro that you should try to avoid. I mean, there's just like stuff about like mixing repos and like I don't know, like Manjaro typically just slows down not slows down. I mean, I just mean like the repos tend to stagnate as compared to Arch repos, and you can get dependency hell sometimes because of that. So it's just better not to use Manjaro. I'd probably just use regular Arch if you want to have a decent time on Linux. So that's why just Arch, Fedora, or Debian. Now I made this animation in Manim, and I'm gonna talk about the differences between these distributions. Now later on I'm gonna make a guide on installing Manim and stuff. That's a different video. I'm just gonna show you this animation for now. So this is Linux, why you should use Linux. And as I was just talking about, these are the only 3 distributions that you need. And just pick one. So this is Fedora. Fedora is known for being, like, I'd say out of the 3 which were just mentioned, though everyone makes distributions based on Debian, in my experience at least, Fedora was a bit easier to use than Debian, at least as a beginner. Um, Fedora's main deal is that it's stable but current. You typically do not get broken packages on Fedora, but you also get new stuff, unlike Debian. So it's I mean, if you're into that type, and I think many people would actually be into that sounds perfect. Then yeah, you should use Fedora. Just one thing, there's just one thing that's wrong with it. Though it has newer packages than Debian, it doesn't have nearly as many packages as Debian or Arch do. I mean, like, if I search up, if I just search up how many packages are in DNF repos, okay, that's weird. Interesting. ChatGPT, the normies, armor. I couldn't search this up, and I'm too lazy to actually search this up, so yeah, here we go. Okay, so with Fedora, you're expected to get somewhere around 2000 packages according to Reddit. Wait, no, these are installed oh my god. Wait a bit. Okay, so you have somewhere around 63,000 to 65,000 binaries in Fedora, and this is including RPM Fusion. Now with Debian in its main repo, it's somewhere around 50,000. However, I've personally used Debian. You can add the non-free firmware, and if you also include all the old stuff it has, it can easily exceed like 200,000 and stuff. Now with Arch, including the AUR, you get somewhere around 100,000. So I mean, Debian does have the most packages and Fedora the least, but Arch has the newest stuff. And honestly, it's like, I know I'm saying Debian has the most packages, but since many of them are old stuff, you won't even really use many of them. So in reality, it's more like Arch has the most package availability from my experience. So that's just maybe one negative of Fedora, which is that it has fewer packages as compared to the other ones which I'm talking about. But I mean, that's just my opinion. And as I say, you can typically get basically anything you'd need. It's not that big of a deal anymore. But that's why I wouldn't go with Fedora. Debian. You won't get updates, and it should just work. Now, Debian used to be my favorite distribution before I actually delved deep into Arch. But ever since I got my new laptop, I've had some serious issues with Debian. Like, for instance, Debian 12, Debian stable, it plain just doesn't work on this laptop. Like, I do not get network drivers out of the box, and I do not have an Ethernet cable or anything like that, so I need my network drivers to work. I don't have another laptop that I can just like install them from and like copy. I don't know how that works. I don't care. I'm not gonna install a distro that doesn't support my network drivers out of the box. So but that's just me. So why Debian? Why the hate for Debian in general? And like, I know I'm saying that it just works and it's supposed to just work, but trust me when I say this, it doesn't just work. It's not as stable as it's stable if you do not intend to use your computer, probably, but it's not stable if you actually intend to use your computer, from my experience. But then I install the most random things, so maybe that's just me. Maybe you would be happy with Debian. And now my favorite, Arch Linux. You can install anything and you can break anything. Now I say you can break anything, but again, from my experience, I haven't really done that, but still many people have, so you cannot just you cannot say that doesn't exist. You can break packages in Arch, I'm assuming. Now why Arch Linux is my favorite? Package availability. That's it. That's the only reason. I mean, a distro is its package manager. This is my point of view. A distro is its package manager. So you would want to get the best package manager. And because AU Arch plus Pacman has the most up-to-date packages that I actually care about, of course I'm going to use Arch. Because I want the best package manager. And I do not even have to set up Nix packages or Flatpaks. I do not have any Flatpaks in my system. I'll show you my fast fetch. I have no Flatpaks. I only have stuff from the AUR and like Pacman. And it's that simple. That's all I need. So this is why I love Arch. You also get if you remember in my previous Linux setup video, I didn't have animations. Now I do. And the reason I'm able to get this, and I said that is because Fedora you can't get pcom-simple anims-git in Fedora. I mean, it says git, but I couldn't find it on GitHub for some reason. Well, this is it in Arch. This is how you install it. I mean, if you're using Yay. I don't like Yay, but yeah. Now, I already have it, so I don't need to do that anymore, but there's stuff that you can't get on Fedora or Debian that you can just easily install in Arch Linux, and that's why I love Arch Linux. And unless I break it, I'm not gonna move from this distro. So choose one based on your needs. They have varying degrees of stability, but they're expensive enough to have a large community each. Now, they all have a large community. I mean this when I say it. I mean, for Linux distros, they all have a large community. If you actually search up online for Discord servers, you can get into some good Discord support servers. Like I'm in the Penguin Byte Discord server, if you know the Penguin Byte YouTuber. I'm in Oglo the Nerds Discord server. There's some really good YouTubers. So these are some really good YouTubers, and they have Discord servers, and it's good to join those kind of support Discord servers. They're not really support, they're for entertainment. They have help channels, and usually you'd get good help from them. So it's just nice to see proof of Linux community, see proof that it's growing. But if it's hard to decide between the three I just mentioned, Temple OS, that's a joke. I know you're not supposed to explain the joke, but that is a joke. And Temple OS was made in the 1980s by I think he was a mental person. I mean, he was a very smart programmer. He revolutionized some things in computing. I mean, he didn't necessarily revolutionize, but what he made was so way ahead of his time. It's a pain that he died mental. My point is, just don't use Temple OS. It's mostly a joke these days. So just, This is also my take on why Arch Linux is the best distribution for me. It's about control and simplicity. Arch Linux, many people you're gonna think Arch Linux is not simple, because you'd have to know so much to use it. In reality, it is probably one of the simplest Linux distributions you can get. It's just that when I say simple, I mean the distribution is simple. You need to know a lot to use it because the distro is not going to do crap for you. You have to do everything yourself in the distribution. And I kind of mean everything. So, on stuff like Fedora, you often get like automatic updates and stuff. In Arch, you get none of that. You update when you want, you install stuff when you want. It's in your control. And I actually like that. That's kind of the kind of distribution I want.